This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet in the here and the there, offering rememberings in times of chaos, confusion, love, and belonging. I'm sitting with this idea of light and shadow. So let's be really clear, right? I think a lot of people would say light and dark. And I am actively, intentionally working on severing my indoctrination in connecting dark and black with the negative, with the idea that these are bad things. One, as a Black person in the United States, it is not lost on me that part of white supremacy and anti-Blackness is around for, and this has been going on for thousands of years, of maybe hundreds of years. Maybe I can't say thousands. Hundreds of years of manipulating our thoughts, understandings, and visual cues to fear Black people. And in order to do that, really taking this idea of black and dark and making it bad and negative in any and all connotations. So there's that. And then it's also, so that's the white supremacy piece. It's also really important to start thinking about this in terms of patriarchy and the connection that many of our brains will make between darkness and going within, which is where we find the divine feminine. Darkness in terms of the womb and the attempted criminalization and control of the wombed body. This idea that, pregnancy, I believe still in Western medicine, pregnancy is seen as a freaking disease, as is menstruation, right? It's wild. But anyway, I digress. So I'm speaking about light and shadow, and I've been thinking about the fact that they are a polarity. You can't have one without the other. How do you know what light is if you aren't aware of the shadows? And if you aren't aware of the shadows, how do you know light has shown up? And so my offering today, my conversation with you all today, is around this idea of reframing the relationship my mind has with these concepts of light and shadow. What do I find in the light? Is that always good? What do I find in the shadows? Is that always bad? Even these ideas like good and bad, right? Like what are those things about? Like really slowing down enough to ask myself questions. Remember, my love language is self-inquiry. So I'm always going to come back to the very powerful force of to know thyself. And to look inward of like what's happening for my thoughts, for my perceptions when I'm thinking about things in terms of light and shadow. And it's really interesting because in the I was just working on a chapter in my mystic speculative fiction manuscript around this idea, the idea of shadows in particular, right? And the work that I had to do to really step into my imagination to create a journey for the reader to suspend what I know many people are going to have, ideas about shadows and the idea that they're always bad or evil or out to get you. I don't know the entire universe, so I can't say that those things aren't quote unquote real. But I do know my particular corner of the universe, and that's been some bullshit to control me, to for me as a Black person in the United States, part of it is to foster this idea of not enoughness, of self-hate, of attempting to move along the binary spectrum of white and Black more toward the white side, because Black shadow is bad. And in my awakening, in my healing of the divine masculine within, my finding and remembering of the divine feminine within, these concepts are getting thrown out the door. The indoctrinated concepts are getting thrown out the door. And instead, I'm stepping into curiosity of rethinking, taking nothing for in an assumption kind of way of what they mean. Or when certain things occur for me, which as of late, the synchronicities, the happenstances, the shift in my awareness of the unseen's presence, it's really important to dig deeper around any default or reactive thinking I have about when light and shadow or concepts related to that show up in my reality. There's so much happening in the world right now in our individual paths, so we are generating collective energy for each other. In our individual paths, like I can't decide for you, and nor do I want to. I don't want that responsibility, what light and shadow means. My offering is simply that it's self-inquiry, like, get vulnerable and transparent with yourself of what do these concepts mean to you, and where did they come from? Where did those definitions come from? And of those definitions that you are moving from in your life, what beliefs are getting generated because of those definitions? And that becomes really important, because did you come up with that definition, or did someone else? And if someone else came up with the definition of what light and shadow means, and you're using that means you're moving by their belief system and not necessarily your own. Like, maybe it is the same, but how does one know if one doesn't inquire? Because once you have your definitions and your beliefs coming out of that definition, your behaviors are going to reflect those beliefs and that definition. Even if I tell myself that I am one way, because either I am ashamed or I haven't really done the work to get underneath to the root of my beliefs, I'm still moving in that rooted way. So I feel like I'm not being super clear. A good example of this is, a lot of people want to move through this idea of consensus or collaborative work. Some people will falsely name that as power with, and they want to shift into power with because there is an awareness that power over patriarchy that is running the globe right now is not working, right? It's killing the planet, it's killing us, we're killing each other, so there's this idea to shift away from that. Yes, I agree 100%. And power over is so rooted in us as humans at this point in this current timeline. It is so rooted that if I don't spend the time to really see where it is rooted in me, and I don't spend the time to really have an understanding of how I'm defining power over and how it's influencing my beliefs and how I move, it doesn't matter if my mouth says I want to be in consensus with you or collaboration with you. When the going gets tough, when my shadow parts, my parts that are hiding because they have been attacked or belittled or silenced, when they feel triggered, I am going to default to the roots of me. And so I think that's why we have on the left right now, we have so much infighting, because folks are like, I want to be power with you, but first let me power over you. I'm a power over you so that we could get to power with. It doesn't work that way. Actually, it doesn't work that way. Power with is not something you can start with. Power with is an organic energy. We have to step into it with an understanding that I am curious, I am open, I want to hear your viewpoint, you want to hear mine. We're going to create and want to co-create and imagine together, and then organically out of that comes power with. But to not do the work of, to not take the journey of understanding the roots of how I'm defining a certain thing, light and shadow, power with, power over, means I'm going to default to definitions, beliefs, and behaviors that were given to me, and for many of us in Western society, forced upon us, told that that's the only way of being. So, do you want to be your own person, or do you want to be patriarchy's person? This is rooted cosmic soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet. The energy here stays here. The energy there stays there. I'll sense you later. Return when moved to do so. Same Bruja time, same Bruja channel.